you guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I wanted to sit down and do a get ready with me featuring some of the products in my collection that I consider to be neglected. These are just some things that I absolutely love that I have not used in far too long. So that is what we're going to be doing today. I'm actually getting ready to go on a lunch date with my husband. I hope that you guys enjoy this one. If you are not subscribed to my channel yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button before we get into it. Let's go ahead and put on some makeup. Alright, so to kick things off, the first thing that I grabbed that I haven't actually used for a while, and this is, I still consider probably one of my very favorite foundations of all time. It's the IT Cosmetics CC Cream Illumination. I've just been trying out so many different foundations over the last several months that I just have kind of neglected this one. And this isn't really a foundation that I use on a daily basis anyways, because I typically reserve my higher end foundations for not necessarily special occasions, but kind of more like if I'm going out to lunch, or if I'm going, I don't know, shopping with friends, or just anytime I'm going out where I want to look a little bit nicer. I kind of reserve my nicer, especially foundations, for occasions and situations like that. But I am going out to lunch today, so I thought this would be a perfect occasion to pull this thing back out. And this foundation I love putting on with my fingers. It feels a lot like a moisturizer going on to my skin. And I just like the finish that my hands give this foundation for some reason. By the way, I forgot to mention, I did prime my skin using this thing. I went and bought the full size. This is the Garnier Glow Boost Illuminating Moisturizer. I have a little mini of it right here, and I really have been enjoying this lately. It basically is a mix between a really nice moisturizer and kind of like MAC strobe cream. It has just a little bit of luminosity to it. This actually feels a lot to me like the Smashbox Primerizer. So for concealer today, I grabbed my Catrice Liquid Camouflage Concealer. I have not used this thing for a while. I'd be willing to bet that I've had this probably for about 7 or 8 months, so I probably should try to use this thing up. There was a period of time that I used this almost exclusively, so I can tell that it's getting pretty close to being about done. So I really want to make sure that I use this before it expires. And it is a really good concealer. I just kind of forgot about it. So this is the shade 20, and I find this to be an even better shade for me in the summertime when I'm a little bit tan. It gives me, I mean, it's not a bad match for me right now, but if I'm looking for brightness, this works really good on me in the summer. But this time of year, it's actually perfect for spot concealing. I've got a lot of little spots going on my face right now, so I do want to try. I hope this works out, but I have this concealer. This is the Fit Me Concealer by Maybelline. This is the color Cafe. I want to try and do a little bit of kind of bronzing with this thing. I don't know that I've ever used this for that, so this could end up kind of disastrous, but we're going to try it anyways because I've really been into doing this lately. I think we'll just do it on my cheek area though. That's pretty warm, actually. Oh boy, that might be a little bit too warm. Bought that concealer about 6 months ago for the purpose of doing kind of some liquid or cream contouring or bronzing, and I never really used it for that, so it's just been sitting in my drawer pretty much unused, and I'm pretty sure I will never get through this thing before it expires. But that's why I thought today would be a perfect chance to at least try it out, especially since I've kind of been into this method lately. So I don't think that looks bad. It definitely is more of a bronzer than a contour. It's quite warm, and that's fine for me. I don't mind a warmer bronze. But I'm also going to add a little bit of bronzer on top of it. Hopefully this doesn't make it kind of go overboard, but I'm going to take my Marc Jacobs Tantastic bronzer. It is so sad to me that I neglect this bronzer the way that I do. And I know that it's mainly because I think I have a little bit of buyer's remorse from picking this thing up. It's not because it's not a good bronzer. I definitely think it is really good, and the more I'm forcing myself to kind of start using it, the more I like it. But it was definitely expensive. It was one of those purchases that I feel like was a little bit... I basically bought this kind of on a whim. Usually I'm pretty careful about how I spend my money on makeup, especially higher end makeup. And this was kind of one of those things I just like put it in my cart and just pushed the buy button. And I think I kind of regretted it after doing that because I knew how much it cost, and I kind of was like almost afraid of it. It's so funny how I know that sounds so ridiculous, especially because I mean I picked this up about 4 months ago, and I just have not used it that much considering how long I've had it. It's a good bronzer. I'm never going to get that money back, and I don't want it just sitting in my collection not being used. So I have it now. I might as well use it, but it's still just one of those things when I pick it up, I think about the fact that I I don't know. I hate to use the word regret because I just don't feel like I've used this enough to say that it's not worth the price. I just think it is so expensive, and I'm not typically someone that spends that much, especially on bronzer. So for blush, I picked up the Milani Luminoso blush. This is actually the original Milani Luminoso. I have heard rumors that they have changed the formula on this. I can't verify if that's true because I have had this specific blush in my collection for, I want to say, probably 3 or 4 years, but it has been quite a while since I've grabbed this thing. So we're going to use this today. I know my cheeks are already pretty warm. I'm hoping this will kind of go with the warmth without making it even warmer, if that makes any sense. But I love peach blush, especially in the springtime and the summer and the fall. Isn't that just the prettiest color? I just love this blush. It's so good. I feel like things got a little bit pigmented right here, so I'm just going to go over it with my sponge. I didn't add anything to this. I'm just kind of trying to almost blend all of that together. We're going to go ahead and highlight right now as well, and for highlight I grabbed the Maybelline Master Chrome highlighter in the color Molten Rose Gold. Love this highlighter. It is definitely one of my favorites, and it's been a couple months since I've grabbed this thing. I've really just been obsessed with my ColourPop highlighters because they kind of live on my desk. They've been living on my desk. I had them in my Shop My Stash, and I just kind of got into the habit of reaching for them. It is pretty intense, so if you're not into an intense highlighter, or if you're just kind of a beginner at highlighter, I don't know, this one might be a little bit intense for you, but I really like it. Okay, so now I'm going to prime my eyelids with some of my Wet n Wild eyeshadow primer. I am so close to being out of this thing. I cannot believe I still have some left because this is definitely my most reached for eyeshadow primer. I'm going to take just a tiny bit more of that concealer and just add a little bit here to the corners of my eyes. I think I'm going to be doing a bit of a colored liner today, so I really like to make sure that the corner, like this area of my eye, is nice and concealed because I always have darkness kind of right there, or redness, or both. Now for the eyeshadow palette. A lot of you might be curious which palette I picked for this because I actually have quite a few in my collection that have been neglected. This was a very tough choice, but the one that I think has been the most neglected by me for the last probably 3 or 4 months is the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. It has been a while since I've reached for this palette, and it is definitely one of my all-time favorite eyeshadow palettes. And I think we're just going to do something pretty neutral on the lid, and then I'm really wanting to go into this color on my lower lash line. But it just looks like a really fun lower lash line shade to me, so I think we're going to do something with that today. But to start off, I'm going to go into my transition. I think I'm going to mix these two shades together, the color Riff and then this orange right here. Is it Baja? Yeah. And I'm just taking that on my Morphe M504. We're just going to kind of start buffing that right above my crease area. I think I'm going to take a little bit of just the color Riff, and we're going to run that just really lightly under the lower lash line, just so we have something there before we go in with the blue shade a little bit later. So now for my lid, I'm trying to decide, oh, look how perfectly this color matches my sweater. Let's do that. Let's go in with Smog, and I'm just going to pack that on the kind of outer half of my lid. Such a pretty bronze. This is the perfect summery bronze. This actually reminds me a lot of Woodwinked by MAC, which I've talked about, I think, before on my channel as being one of my very favorite bronzes of all time. I think Woodwinked is just a little bit more warm toned than this one. It has a little bit more of kind of a copper undertone to it. You can be pretty sloppy putting this on and it will just blend out like a dream. Just really easy to work with. And I find Woodwinked to be exactly the same way. It's just a really easy shade to use. And now I'm going to take another one of my favorite colors in here. This is the color Stranded right here. This is basically kind of a shimmery champagne gold. And we're going to pop that just on the inner kind of third of the lid. And slightly kind of overlap the other color right there. This is just an Anastasia brush. I'm just using the back of it to kind of blend those edges out a little bit. Okay, so I really want to brighten up my inner corner just a little bit, and I think I'm going to take my ColourPop Flexitarian to do that. I'm going to try doing it with this brush. I've never tried it with this brush before. We'll see if this works, okay? This is the Morphe M507, and we're just going to kind of pop that on the inner corner. Okay, that actually works really good with the color pop. That's actually really good to know because some brushes don't work as good with the Super Shock formula. Okay, so I feel like I have a little bit of patchiness right here where I just got a little bit too high with that. So I'm just going to take a clean MAC 217 brush and we're just going to kind of buff that edge right there. So I'm just going to take a tiny bit of setting spray. This is just a rose water spray on the back of my hand. And this is the Juvia's Place Precision Eyebrow Brush. This has fastly become one of my favorite brushes for using for lower lash line colors. So if I'm either, especially if I'm doing something kind of precise on either my lower or my upper lash line, because it's a little bit thick, so you can really pack a lot of product, a lot of shadow in here. But it really does a good job of still staying precise but applying enough pigment. I really, really like this brush. It has become one of my favorites from that purple Juvia's Place set. So with this wet brush, I'm going to go into the shade right here. This is the shade Radio, which is kind of like a dark sort of teal. Very pretty. Such a pretty like neutral blue color. And we're going to pack this just on the lower lash line, and I hope this isn't too dark. I'm just going to go like halfway across. It's a little darker than I thought it was going to be. I'm actually not a big fan of like a dark color on my lower lash line. I just don't think it looks very good on me, but we're just gonna go with it. That wing's a little bit longer than I wanted, so I'm just taking a Q-tip and sort of buffing out the edge of that wing so it doesn't extend so long. I think just the color on the lower lash line is bold enough. I don't really want to have a really strong wing with this color. It's a little too much for a lunch date, in my opinion. Now I'm going to take the end of that Anastasia brush and we're just going to kind of lightly buff that on that lower lash line just to kind of diffuse that a little bit and blend it into the other color underneath. That's still a little bit darker than I like. I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to take this facial spray again, and I tried to wipe most of the pigment off of this brush. I'm going to dip back into here, and then I'm going to go into the shade next to it, which is Big Sky. This one's quite a bit lighter than the other blue, and we're just going to kind of take that sort of from the 2/3 mark over about halfway in, just to kind of lighten up the center. Alright, so I found my trusty Wet n Wild liner. I'm going to put a little bit of this on my upper waterline, also on my upper lash line, just kind of on the outer, maybe half of it, just slightly wing it up to meet this little bit of blue that we have right there. And then I'm going to add a couple of coats of mascara, and I will be right back. Alright, so I just added my liner. I also added a couple coats of my IT Cosmetics Superhero Mascara. Sad little story about this mascara. Now, this isn't necessarily my most neglected mascara lately. There was a period of time where this was the only mascara I used for probably almost 2 months because I love it so much. And I am so upset because even though it's April and I promised myself I'd do kind of a no-buy this month, I did give myself one allowance to purchase the IT Cosmetics Superhero Mascara while it was on sale during Ulta's 21 Days of Beauty. So I was planning on picking up 2 of these while they were half price, and I completely forgot. And I am so sad about that because this one that I have is really has pretty much kicked the bucket, and I cannot believe that I forgot to pick this up while it was half price. So I did forget to do my eyebrows. We do need to put something in my brows, and I picked this theme because it's been a while since I have used this. This is the Maybelline Total Temptation brow pencil. Do they still make this thing? I know this Total Temptation line. I don't know if this was kind of like a limited edition kind of line they did. I actually really like this brow pencil. The only thing I do not like about this is this ridiculous little round spoolie right here. I think it's a bit of a joke. It just does not work nearly as good as just a regular spoolie would work. But the brow pencil itself is pretty good. It's very stiff, so if you like a relatively stiff brow pencil, this is a good one. I like a stiffer brow pencil when I'm wanting a little bit more precision, when I'm wanting to take a little bit more time with my brows. But my favorite and most used brow pencil, as you guys probably know, is the e.l.f. brow pencil, and that one is actually quite creamy. It goes on really, really quickly, which is the reason that I love that one. So I think I love different formulas for different things. Now to set those in place, I'm going to grab this little thing right here. I know I've talked to you guys about this before. This is the e.l.f. I always forget the name of this. I want to say it's just their brow wax. It's basically just like a clear wax stick. But I'm just going to pop a little bit of that into my brows and then comb them through, and they should stay in place pretty well. I love that thing. It's just such an easy way to set your brows in place. If you're very finicky about your eyebrows, if you like them to be like locked in for the whole day, I don't think that would work for you, because it's not like a hairspray for your brows, but it definitely helps give them a little bit of texture. It helps to keep them in place a little bit. My eyes look really dark and intense. I kind of feel like I'm looking a little intense. So maybe to soften that up a little bit, I'm going to take this little pencil right here. This is from LA Girl. This is their Glide On Gel Liner Pencil in the color Champagne. This is kind of a shimmery flush tone color. So I'm going to add just a little bit of this to my lower waterline. I don't do this very often, but hoping this might kind of brighten up my eyes a little bit. Alright, so for lips today, I'm going to take a little bit of MAC's Whirl Pencil and just line my lips, which have quite a bit of concealer on them right now. They look kind of dead. And then top that with a little bit of the e.l.f. Lip Plumping Gloss in the color Champagne Glam. So now I think we're all set. I'm just going to add a little bit of setting spray. This is just the L'Oreal Infallible Extender Setting Spray. Alright, you guys, and that completes today's Get Ready With Me featuring some of my most neglected makeup products. I'd love to know what the most neglected makeup product is in your collection. What is something that you absolutely love that you just have not been reaching for lately? Let me know in the comments below, and then go grab it and give it a try. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video today. I hope that you guys are enjoying my April full month of nothing new. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, make sure you do that before you leave, and I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye! Washed my brushes the other day and seem to have lost them all because I put them all in different places to dry, and now I'm having a hard time finding them. Where have they gone? Right, and that complete. Why is my necklace squampus? Or not subscribed to my channel. Whoops. It's wild with my hands.